Okay, so today we are reviewing for your chapter 15 test. All right, this is going to be your last chapter test before finals. So we are going to do a few sections from chapter 16, but there won't be an official test over chapter 16. All right, so the first, can y'all see that okay? I know I had to kind of decrease the font a little bit. First set of questions. All right, so these are kind of application questions, so you get to use your creative side of your personalities, okay? The first question says, using any of the exponent properties. So it could be product of powers, it could be quotient of powers, or power of powers. I want you to write me an expression that simplifies to c to the 12th power. All right, so using any of the exponent properties. The second question says, using any of the exponent properties, write an expression that would simplify to a to the negative 5th power. A to the negative 5th power. So again, I want my answer to be a to the negative 5th power. All right, now I want you to give me an expression that would simplify to that. Third question, and then we're going to pause for you guys to work these. Which expression is equivalent to 7 to the negative 2nd power? So you have a couple questions on your test tomorrow, and I'll go ahead and tell you these questions are multiple choice on your test. I'm going to give you some options, and I'm going to ask you which expression is equivalent to the given expression. All right, so we're going to pause here for about 2 minutes and let you guys work these three problems. Okay, anybody want to raise your hand and tell me the example that you used? Macy.
For the first one, I did c to the 20th power over c to the 8th power.
All right, quotient of powers. That's not one that we normally see. But is 20 minus 8, would that be 12? All right, Mikhail, what'd you put? All right, he put c to the 11th times c. All right, would that still be c to the 12th? What other combinations would be 12? 6 and 6, 7 and 5, 10 and 2. All right, what about the a to the negative 5th power? What expression did you guys write, Lily? Okay, nice. She did quotient of powers too. She said a to the 5th power. I'm going to write it over here to have more space. Over a to the 10th power. And 5 minus 10 would give me that negative 5. Very good. All right, what's another one? All right, give me some new people. What's another one? Come on, don't be shy. Mariana, what'd you put? You did? Oh, okay. All right, Macy, what'd you put?
A to the 2nd power over a to the 7th.
Okay, she did quotient of powers too. I could probably squeeze that in. A to the 2nd over a to the 7th power. And 2 minus 7 is the negative 5. You could say a, this is the one I thought of, a to the negative 2nd times a to the negative 3rd. All right, that would be negative 5 as well. So going on to question number 3, which expression is equivalent to 7 to the negative 2nd power? What did you guys say, A, B, or C? It is B. Here's why. 7 to the negative 2nd, I put over 1. I must flip it in the fraction to make it positive, and then I could evaluate that to make it 1 over 49. So B was the correct choice. All right, great job on those 3 questions. Okay, so now you've got a product here. Okay, so on the first one, we're just going to write the repeated multiplication with the power. On the second one, I have to correct my negative exponents. I need to make my negative exponents positive. So I want you to write both expressions using only positive exponents. Let's see, Reese, what did you put for the first one?
5 to the 3rd power times a to the 3rd power times b to the 3rd power.
Very good. 5 to the 3rd power, a to the 3rd power, and b to the 3rd power. Now, we don't want dots or spaces, okay? So whenever I write repeated multiplication as a power, I just want to write all the terms together, and that means multiplication. Next one. Nate, how'd you fix this one? What'd you do? Okay. Okay. Did you leave any of them up top? Very good. So I leave y to the 8th on top because that one is positive. Then I need to drop the other ones to the bottom, just like you said. X to the 4th and z to the 7th. And I know when I do that, I'm making a negative exponent positive. So that's my final answer. All right, any questions on those? Okay, now you're going to evaluate these expressions. Now remember, you don't have a calculator on your test tomorrow. So it's going to take us a couple minutes to work through these expressions. Remember order of operations. Remember your properties. Okay, so the properties will give us shortcuts like on this one. You don't want to be doing 4 times 4 or 5 times by hand. Okay, but maybe you could do quotient of powers here, and it would make it easier to simplify that. So I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes to work through each of these. So I don't want to take too much time because if you're stuck, you're stuck. You just need me to explain it to you. All right, but I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to try to work your way through these, each one of these questions, and then we're going to go over it. All right, 5 squared times negative 2 squared. Biggest question here is negative 2 squared, the way it's written right now, is that going to be positive 4 or negative 4? Positive 4. 5 squared is 25. So what's 25 times 4? 100. 100. All right, so now let's go down to the next one. All right, if any of them gave you trouble, it's probably this one. I see quotient of powers with my 4s. So the first thing I want to do is do my quotient of powers. 4 to the 5th power minus 3 and x to the 2nd power minus 5. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing those powers into my numerator to simplify this before I try to solve it. So 4 to the what? What's 5 minus 3? What's 5 minus 3, guys? 2. So 4 to the 2nd power and x to the what? What's 2 minus 5? Negative 3rd power. All right, so I see that negative exponent. I'm going to put this over 1. Remember, when I subtract my powers, I'm bringing them all up into my numerator. I can do 4 squared. What is 4 squared? 16. Leave it on top because that is a positive exponent. So leave it where it is. But what needs to happen to my x? What needs to happen to my x? I need to move it down to the bottom to make it positive. So we had some misses on this question yesterday on your quiz. So now when you get your quizzes back in a minute, I want you guys to go to this question. I think the base was a different number. I can't say it out loud, but you'll see in a second. All right, and we can check that. All right, biggest mistake we see on the top right one is raising the product to a power. Remember, if 3x is in parentheses like we see here, that means raise every term inside the parentheses to that power. Did you guys remember that? All right, so it would be x to the 8th power over, what is 3 squared? 9x squared. Okay, now you can do your quotient of powers. What is 8 minus 2? X to the 6th power over 9. When I subtract my 2 x's to the numerator, they are gone in my denominator. That is one thing you guys did well yesterday. You did remember that the x's don't stay in the denominator. Just some people forgot to square the number also. All right, let's look down at the bottom right one. When I square a fraction, what am I doing? Am I just multiplying it by 2? Am I only multiplying the numerator? No, I must square the numerator and the denominator. Did you guys say 1 over 36? Times 3 over 1. It's probably helpful to put the whole number over 1. So now I get 3 over 36. Can I reduce that? What can I reduce it to? 1 over 12. So if you forget to reduce it, it'd be like minus 1 point, 1 or 2, depending on how many steps are in the problem. Okay, so we just had a question about the 1 to the second power. You've got to remember that's the base times itself. So 1 times 1 is 1. So don't make the common mistake, very common mistake of saying 1 to the second power is 2. All right, you have a section where I'm going to ask you to simplify the expression and write your answer with only positive exponents. So in this section on your test, you're going to see what we call coefficients. Coefficients are in front of the variable. What you need to remember is the coefficients don't have negative exponents, okay? And for the coefficients, you're going to do the operation. So if there's a dot in between the terms, that means you must multiply your coefficients. And then you multiply your exponents using your rules, product of powers or quotient of powers. All right, be careful on this last one when your denominator is a negative. Give you guys about 2 minutes to work through this section. Okay, so on number 1, on the first one, you guys did well with the 5 times 4. Remember, that's not addition, so the common mistake there is to think addition because I am adding my exponents. But remember, I have to do the operation between the terms. That's multiplication. So 5 times 4 is 20. And then when I do product of powers with my y's, did you guys get y to the negative 11th power? Now, I can't have a negative exponent. So my biggest question here is, does the 20 need to flip with the y? Does the 20 have a negative exponent? No, only the y. So only the y moves to the bottom. All right, so let's look at the next one. Again, biggest question here, what needs to flip in the fraction? Does the whole thing need to flip, Lucas? Did you flip the whole thing? No, what did you flip?
The second one?
The second one.
The P.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, next one. There's 2 different ways that I've seen kids do this problem, and both of them are correct. I have seen, how many of you put z to the negative 5th in the top and z to the negative 3rd in the bottom? How many of you just switched their order? So if you did that, then you probably rewrote the expression 12z to the 5th power over 8z to the 3rd power. Okay, if you do it that way, that's fine. But remember, do not flip the fraction upside down because the 12 and the 8 don't have negative powers. So if you did that, hopefully you remembered to reduce. What does 12 over 8 reduce to? 3 over 2. And then you subtracted your z's and you had z squared left up top. Okay, 3z squared. Now, there's another way to do this. If you don't want to mess with flipping the order, you can simply do quotient of powers. Quotient of powers says, I subtract my numerator minus my denominator, but look what's going to happen. I'm already subtracting, and what am I subtracting? A negative, which makes it a double negative. Look how you end up with the same answer, guys. Now you have 12z, what's negative 3 plus 5? To the second power over 8. This would be your half credit answer because you still have to reduce 3z squared over 2. You end up with the same answer either way. So whether you flip them top and bottom and then subtract, or you subtract and you remember your double negative, either way will give you the right answer. All right, let's switch over to scientific notation now. Okay, what would be my decimal value for the first one, that really big number? Okay, don't sound bored saying it. 7.865. All my numbers that are not zero. But remember, the decimal gets moved after my leading digit. So now, is my value in the correct range? Is it bigger than 1 but less than 10? Yes. So now I have to count how many place values, and each place value is a power of 10. How many place values did I move? 3, 6, 9, 12, 13. Did you say 10 to the 13th power?
Yes.
Is my exponent positive or negative? Positive, because it's a really big number. All right, let's move our way down. What is my decimal value for the next one? 6.48 times 10. And again, I count how many place values I moved my decimal. But now, what does my exponent need to be? Negative. To the negative 5th power. You guys did pretty well on that on your quiz. Couple mistakes on the actual exponent value, but nothing crazy. All right, now we're going to write in standard form. We have the number in scientific notation. Now let's write it in standard form. So everything is determined by my exponent. If my exponent is positive, which way am I moving my decimal? To the right to make my number big. Because my positive exponent means that I have a really big number. So here's what I want you to do first. I just want you to write all the digits. If I already have one decimal place here to move it, how many more zeros do I need so I can expand my place values? I need 7 more zeros. 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. I would write them all. Okay, here's what you can't do. If you leave the decimal here, did you change that value at all? No, because all those zeros after the decimal don't mean anything. Okay, so you need your commas. You guys were really good about your commas yesterday. Just don't forget them tomorrow on your test. 520 million. All right, next one. Because I have a negative exponent, which way am I moving my decimal? To the left now. I already have one place value. So how many more zeros do I need in front of the number? I need 3 more zeros. Now, I will not count off tomorrow if you don't put the 0 for the ones place, but I do think it's a good idea. Okay? Because a lot of times if people don't put the 0 there, all right, look what happens. They put the decimal and then they box in their answer. And then, do you see what I just did there? It happens every single year. Every single year. And then I'm like, I draw an arrow here and I say, question mark, is that your decimal? You don't want me to have to guess when I'm grading your test. Okay? So if you put the 0 out front, even if you cut off your 0 because you're being sloppy, I can still see your decimal. All right, operations. Okay, you know it was on your quiz and it's going to be on your test. We have, okay, I'm not even going to tell you what the operation is because that's part of what you're going to have to figure out tomorrow. I'm not going to say this one's addition or this one's division or this one's multiplication. You have to figure that out when you look at it, and then you have to use your rules. So I'm going to give you guys about a minute and a half to work through these two problems. Okay, so I am adding here. Am I ready to add the decimal values together? No, I do not have common powers. So my rule says that I want to increase the lower one to match the upper one. So hopefully you did 2 plus 1, which gives you 10 to the third. But if you increase your power, what happens to the decimal? It moves to the left. So you should have had 0.42 times 10 to the third plus 1.3 times 10 to the third. Now you're ready to add your decimal values together. 0.42 plus 1.30. You should have got 1.72. 1.72. So 1.72 times 10 to the third. Is this value within the range for scientific notation? Yes. All right, now, next one. Do not be thrown off by this. This is probably going to happen on your test. This is 4 divided by 8. This is not 8 divided by 4. Can 8 go into 4? No. So add your 0. Does 8 go into 40? Yes. 0.5. And remember, this is division. So what am I doing to my exponents?
Subtract them.
I'm subtracting. If you want to stack it to remind you to subtract, you can. This is 0.5 times 10 to the 6th power. But is this number in scientific notation? No. What do I need to do?
You need to move the decimal.
Bump it to the right, which does what to my power?
Subtract.
Decreases it by 1. 5 times 10 to the 5th power. Final answer. You will keep your answers in scientific notation. All right, last two problems. Last two problems.
And fractions can't be.
What now?
Fractions can't be in scientific, right?
No. Leave them decimals.
Yeah. because
Decimals in scientific
I,
notation.
Yeah, I just put the 8 to the
Mhm.
second.
Good. All right. Okay, go ahead and do these last two. All right, guys, what's 4 times 3? 12. And then what did you do with your powers of 10? You added them. What's 8 plus negative 3? 10 to the 5th power. Is this my final answer? No. What do I need to do?
You have to put a decimal to the left.
Yep, bump your decimal, and then what happens to your power? Add 1. Okay, so 1.2 times 10 to the 6th. Full credit answer, half credit answer. All right, make sure you get that in scientific notation. Now, am I ready to subtract on the next one? All right, so top number minus bottom number. What do you think is going to be the common mistake here?
0.
The 0 above the 5. Make sure you do that. So now 10 minus 5 is 5. 13 minus 4 is 9. 2.95. And then, do I subtract my powers of 10? No. I bring down my common power with subtraction. 10 to the 2nd power. Okay? Now, you do have a review section on your test. All right, so those are the last 2 questions on the main part of your test. There are only 2 review questions on your test. Okay? I'm not going to ask you to do this on your desk. I just need you to pay attention, and we'll capture it in the video as well. All right? But I do want you to try to stay ahead of me on this. If you're graphing this linear equation, I want you to look at it. Y equals 3x minus 1. Is this equation ready to graph? Yes, it is. It's in slope-intercept. Where would my first point go on this equation? It goes on a -1. Where do I go from there? Up 3 over 1. Plot my point, draw my line, and I'm done.
That was good.
Okay? So that's it. Now, on the second one, you already have a line. Now you need to write your own equation. So what 2 pieces of information do we need? Y-intercept and slope. Okay? So, yes. So it's y equals, now I need to count my slope, my rise over my run. I'm going which direction? Down to, left to right. You got to go left to right. So the point on the left, I go down 2 and I go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So -2 over 4x plus 2. Now, you're going to lose 2 points if you leave it like this because your slope can reduce. So just make sure you remember to reduce your slope, -1/2 x plus 2. Okay? And then just as your hint, your bonus will have something to do with systems of equations, one of your methods. All right? And now that's everything you need to know for your test tomorrow.